Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our BC TDA board meeting. Go to the next slide, please. All right, I would like to call to order the virtual joint meeting of the BC TDA Public Authority and the BC TDA Nonprofit Corporation. We have a pretty busy agenda today and a lot of topics to cover, so we hopefully will move right along, but we'll still entertain questions as they come. So please move forward. As always, all the meeting documents are available online at ashevillecvb.com. And if you follow those steps, board meetings and documents and upcoming BCTDA meetings, all the documents will be posted after the meeting there as well. Next slide, please. All right, we will do our roll call. Vice Chair Gary Froba.
Present.
Thank you. Leah Ashburn.
Here.
Thank you, Leah. Andrew Selwyn.
Present.
Thank you, Andrew. Brenda Durden.
Present.
Thank you, Brenda. John Luckett.
Here, good morning.
Thank you, John. Good morning. John McKibben. John McKibben.
Here.
Thank you, John. Kathleen Mosher.
Here.
Thank you, Kathleen. James Poole. James. Has James joined yet, Jana?
He has not.
Okay. We also have Asheville City Council member Sandra Kilgore.
Here.
Thank you. Good morning. And Buncombe County Commissioner Robert Presley.
Here.
Thank you. And Himanshu Kabir here as well. So we'll go to the next slide, please. You should have all received the minutes from our last meeting, or January 27th meeting. If I can get a motion to approve those meeting minutes and then a second, unless there's any discussion. I'll obtain the motion.
Motion, Selwyn.
Thank you, Andrew.
Second.
And Ashburn.
Thank you, Leah. If there's no discussion, we'll go to the roll call vote again, please. Vice Chair Gary Froba.
Yay.
Leah Ashburn.
Yes.
Andrew Selwyn.
Yes.
Brenda Durden.
Yes.
John Luckett.
Yes.
John McKibben.
Yes.
Thank you, John. Kathleen Mosher.
Yes.
And Himanshu Kabir, aye as well. All right. We'll go to the next slide, please. If you remember last meeting, I had asked to the staff to come up with protocols for public comment. And we've always, when we met in person, we were always set aside some time at the end of the meeting to take public comments. Obviously, over the last year, we were meeting virtually, so we did accept comments by email. But we do have new protocols that we have presented to the authority here. You should have gotten that in your packet. To do in person or via Zoom comments. Those protocols, like I said, were already sent to you. I do want to note, and it's noted here, that we are under no obligation to take public comment. However, as a public body established to serve the community good, we are committed to transparency and have been recognized in the past by Mountain Express for those efforts. And we want to obviously continue doing those things, and that's why in-person public comments or via Zoom is what I asked them to do. Can you go to the next slide, please? And like I said, this document was sent to you guys, and hopefully you have a chance to review those. I'm not going to go over the whole document here, but it just steps and processes that we've taken from other organizations that are similar to ours to come up with these protocols. Is there any? Can you go to the next slide, please? If there's any questions or discussions on this protocol?
Thanks to the folks for putting it together. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah. If not, then we'll go to the next slide, please. And this is the motion in front of us, motion to adopt the processes and protocols for public comment during regular virtual monthly meetings as presented. I'll take a motion in a second, please.
So move, Froba.
Thank you, Gary.
Second,
Seconds.
Mosher.
Okay. Did you get that, Jana?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to roll call vote, please. Vice Chair Gary Froba,
Yay.
Leah Ashburn,
Yes.
Andrew Selwyn,
Yay.
Brenda Durden,
Yes.
John Luckett,
Yes.
John McKibben. John McKibben. Let's see on the screen.
Looks like we may have lost John.
Yeah, we might have lost him. Kathleen Mosher,
Yes.
John McKibben. John, can you hear us? James Poole, is he still not on, John? Okay. And then Himanshu Kurvir, aye. All right, so next on this agenda is our appointment of the nominating committee, and we're appointing the following members of the authority to the nominating committee: Vice Chair Gary Froba as the chair, John McKibben, and Leah Ashburn. There is, I don't believe we need a motion for this, so we can go to the next slide, please. We'll jump right into the financial reports, and we'll turn it over to Don over at the county. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. These are the financial reports for the month ending January 31st, 2021. So we can go to the first slide. In the second column, current month actuals, you can see occupancy tax collected was $1,517,000. That puts us at 89.5% of budget, and we are down 11.3% from the previous year. Total revenues year to date, $10,102,125. Total expenditures year to date is $3,036,556. So we have a net change in fund balance for the year of $6,365,569. We go to page 2. This is the 75-25% split. As you can see, we're down 15% for the monthly room sales, and year to date, we're down 11%. Going to page 3, this is the balance sheet, or sorry, got ahead of myself. The monthly PDF fund summary. We have a budget of $26,685,000, and life to date expenditures are $13,082,863, with a remaining budget of $13,602,137. For the administrative fees, we have $518,000 budgeted, $347,363 to date, and $176,37 remaining. At the very bottom, you'll see the current product development amount available of $3,580,063. Going to the next page, which is the balance sheet. This is a snapshot of our assets, liabilities, and fund balance as of January 31st. In the product development fund, you'll see the future events payable, the $13,602,137. That ties back to page 3 as far as the fund balance out there. Going to page 4. This is the graphical representation of the room sales by month. You can see the December room sales down 16% the month, down year to date 12%. Going to the next page, you see the amount, or I don't know if you can see that bar, the green bar dips down, actually touching below the 2018 levels. Going to the next page, this is a breakout of the hotel, motel, vacation rentals, and the bed and breakfast. Hotel motels down 25.1% for the month, down 26.7% for the year. Vacation rentals is up 20.7% and up 46% for the year. And then bed and breakfast is down 10.7% and down 8%. And going to the final page is a graphical representation of that. And you can see how everything is trending with hotel, motel, bed and breakfast below the other lines, and then vacation rentals is far exceeding the others. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if I can.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions for Dan? Don, sorry, I don't know.
Dan, Don, it doesn't matter.
Sorry.
Hey, Don,
Yes. second cup of coffee yet.
Yes, Andrew.
Just for folks who maybe don't look at these charts as frequently as we do, on the history of total sales by month, on that graph where you talked about where the green line was dipping under, just nowhere on the graph is that line designated as this year. I just thought that might be helpful for folks who don't look at it every month. You know, see what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
yeah. I didn't even notice that the 2021 wasn't showing on there. Thank you for pointing that out. I'll make sure that gets corrected.
Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, Don, how many vacation rentals are there?
I don't know. I have to look and find out.
I think this in the city, there's obviously the ones that are licensed, but I think in the county there's about three. I know it's a huge number,
Good
but 3,000
morning.
to 4,000.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chairman. This is Vic.
Yeah, Vic.
So there, according to the Air DNA reporting that we get, there are over 3,500 throughout the county. And in a future board meeting, we're happy to present the data behind that.
Thank you, Vic. Any other questions for Don? All right, if not, we'll go to the next slide, please. And I would take a motion for consideration as the motion to approve the January 2021 financial reports as presented.
Motion to approve, Luckett.
Thank you, John.
Second, Durden.
Thank you, Brenda. All right, we'll go to the roll call vote again. Vice Chair Gary Froba,
Yay.
Leah Ashburn,
Yes.
Andrew Selwyn,
Yes.
Brenda Durden,
Yes.
John Luckett,
Yes.
John McKibben,
Yes, and sorry, I'm in and
That's-
out on my
That's
internet, so.
Kathleen Mosher,
Yes. Yes.
Himanshu Kurver, yes.
Hey, Himanshu, I'm here.
Oh,
Sorry
and
about
James
that.
Spool,
James.
sorry. I don't see you on my screen, I apologize. James Spool.
Yes.
Thank you, James. All right, we'll go to the next slide, please. Vic, you want to give this update real quick?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Just a quick penalty waiver update. As you know, in the December board meeting, there was an approval from you for a penalty waiver request from the Sleep In West, and that was approved by the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners on February 2nd. So that can be closed out. And also the Lion and the Rose requested a first-time penalty waiver in the amount of $157.46. You previously gave the president and CEO the authority to approve penalty waivers under $500. And as this was a first-time offense, then we approved it. Any questions? Thank you.
And you can just keep going, Vic.
Happy to. Thank you. So Don gave us a look at revenues from December. So what we're looking at here is lodging occupancy as of January 2021. What you're seeing is a continuation of the trend we saw through the end of 2020, which hotels continuing to lag in performance year over year. So hotel occupancy for the month of January this year was 42%, down 17%. And vacation rentals, a bright spot for us with an occupancy of 53%, which is again an 8.5% increase year over year. While that's still challenging for us as a tourism community as a whole, we are starting to see some bright spots. According to Destination Analysts, which does a travel sentiment survey each week that comes out every Tuesday, travel sentiment for US travelers is the highest it's been, as you can see from this chart. So 60% of those surveyed report that they are ready to travel. That still means that 40% are not ready to hit the road yet. So we need to be very mindful about that in terms of how we're messaging, engaging, and inviting visitors. You'll hear from Marla and the team later about how we're thinking through this and ensuring that we're engaging and sending messages that are meeting visitors where they are or travelers where they are, whether they're ready to hit the road now as the 60%, whether they're planning for the future, or whether they're planning for trips in the end of the year or into 2022. So when you look at the next slide, what you see here is the expected timing of travel for these individuals. So you can see there are some people that are out traveling now, but you can see a gradual increase here with 20% in May, 22.7% in June, with a high of 28.6% in July. So our efforts in terms of messaging and marketing to potential travelers will be entering into the marketplace this spring, and Marla and the team will give you more details about the timing on that. But again, it's to address people's hearts and minds when they're dreaming about where to travel, that Asheville is a consideration for them. With that arc in mind, we do have some bright spots, as I mentioned before, and some of those include with our partners at the Asheville Regional Airport. So just recently, new Saturday service was announced from Boston to Asheville on American Airlines, and that starts June 5th. And then we also have twice weekly service from Destin, Florida to Asheville on Allegiant that starts the end of May. So as our team is working collectively to engage visitors, work on recovery for the community, we're really organizing our efforts around these 4 strategic pillars. So deliver balanced recovery and sustainable growth, encourage safe and responsible travel. So safe travel right now still means, very importantly, you wear a mask, I wear a mask, and also keep social distancing and the cleanliness that all of our tourism partners are so diligent about right now. And right behind that comes responsible travel, which is ensuring that we're engaging and educating our visitors about taking care of our natural resources as well as human resources, engaging with visitors that have shared values with our community. And again, the team has some examples of how we're going to be doing that in short order. Thirdly, engaging and inviting more diverse audiences. So you're going to hear how we're doing that through our product development efforts, as well as our marketing and communications priorities. And then lastly, but certainly not least, is promoting and supporting Asheville's creative spirit. And again, you'll hear examples of that through product as well as marketing. We're also going to be exploring those 4 pillars in greater detail with you as our board during our planning retreat in March. So please mark your calendars for that. We will continue to do this meeting virtually, so we're going to be building the schedule and agenda accordingly. And then you can also take a look at the meetings for the next fiscal year, because I know you're all waiting very anxiously for those dates. You also have the destination dashboard, as well as a comprehensive look at the staff recap, and happy to answer any questions at this time. If no questions, then I think we'll move right along to Pat.
Thanks, Vic.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Pat Kappas here, Director of Community Engagement. I have updates to share with you today on Tourism Product Development Fund projects. Moving along. As a reminder, we receive updates from grantees in January each year. It is a requirement in all TPDF contract agreements that grantees submit an annual update throughout the term of their contract, and a standard term being from the time of the award through 4 years after completion. Next. As an overview of the program, $43 million has been awarded to 39 community projects since the inception of the fund in 2001. That breaks down as 75% of funding going to city, county, or state-owned projects, and 25 going to private or nonprofits. There were no new project grants last year since the TPDF grant program was put on pause in 2019 to allow for the development of TMIP, the Tourism Management and Investment Plan. However, $5 million of TPDF funding was invested in the BC TDA Tourism Jobs Recovery Fund. And 8 of the projects that we'll be talking about today also received a jobs recovery grant. Next. Here you see the annual reporting criteria, which calls for a status update on project schedule, information on marketing efforts, visitor tracking methods, and room night estimates. I will note that for this round of annual reports, because of the extensive business disruptions in 2020 due to pandemic-related issues, grantees were asked to provide a general update with the understanding that project milestones and visitation projections would be significantly impacted. So I will not discuss each project in detail. You've received copies of the individual projects in your packet for reference, but I will share some highlights. Next. To get started, there are 7 projects that are in development or under construction. Projects that are in development and fundraising will likely experience delays due to stalled campaigns, reduced staff, and the need to reallocate funds to operations for the survival of the organization. That's the case for the Community Theater and Montford Park Players. The YMI, you've heard more specific updates in recent months, and they're expected to return to an upcoming board meeting soon to provide you with another progress update. They did share good news, though, that they are $2 million closer to their fundraising goals. Projects that are under construction, specifically the 2 county projects, encountered delays due to NCDOT funding restrictions created by COVID-related revenue losses. And the city's riverfront development project also experienced a slight delay, and we'll talk about that later in the presentation today. And we also have the museum at the Stevens Lee Recreation Center project. The grantee is required to obtain an MOU with the city, the Stevens Lee Alumni Association, and the East End Valley Neighborhood Association before they can begin working in the space, and those talks are still in progress. Next, we will look at the 12 projects that are complete, yet still in the reporting phase. There are some common takeaways for this group as well. Like most businesses, they too have experienced significant disruption to COVID restrictions. The sporting event venues reported disappointing years because of their events and tournaments were canceled. The museums, the art centers, and the performance art venues also took quite a beating with limited capacity options. Daniel, you could advance, there you go. Most of which are still operating under these limitations. Some were able to provide virtual events and experiences, but those are challenging to monetize at a sustainable level. There were a couple silver linings with the outdoor attractions. The Nature Center, for example, saw more guests. However, that did not make up for the months that they were forced to close. And the farmers market reported that while their attendance dropped, they saw more people utilize the market as a food source, so their vendors actually had an increase in sales. And the Arboretum was able to maintain close to previous year's attendance, even with being closed for 6 weeks. So next we'll take a quick spin through a set of slides to recognize the projects that completed construction in 2020, all of which have not been able to fully benefit from their investments. And so we've got the Arboretum's garden lighting and parking expansion. Next, the Leaf Global Arts Center in the newly renovated landmark building on the block. Next, the Center for Craft and their Craft Innovation Hub. Moving on, the Harrah's Cherokee Center Theater and Meeting Room conversion. Moving on. The Asheville Art Museum, this project actually completed in late 2019, but was not open long before the pandemic restrictions hit. And next, same goes for the Wortham Center, also completed in late 2019 and barely had a chance to utilize their theater renovations. So next, because these are rolling project budgets that do not close out each year, we have a budget amendment here to close out these projects that have all been paid in full. So I will turn it over to you, Chairman, to consider the motion.
Thanks, Pat, for the update. This is a motion, and I do need somebody to read the whole motion, each individual line items there. Any volunteers?
I'll do it.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Motion to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $9,310,000 as presented to close out the following Tourism Product Development Fund budgets for projects that have been completed and paid in full. Asheville Art Museum for the museum expansion project, $500,000. City of Asheville for the U.S. Cellular Center Theater Creation and Meeting Room Conservation Project, $1.5 million. Diana Wortham Theater for the Wortham Center Project, $700,000. Leaf Community Arts for the Leaf Global Arts Center Project, $705,000. North Carolina Arboretum Society for the Garden Lighting and Parking Enhancements Projects of $905,000. The BCTDA Tourism Jobs Recovery Fund for COVID-related pandemic relief for local businesses at $5 million.
Thank you. May I have a second, please?
Second, Selwyn.
Thank you, Andrew. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the roll call vote, please. Vice Chair Gary Froba,
Yay.
Leah Ashburn,
Yes.
Andrew Selwyn,
Yes.
Brenda Durden,
Yes.
John Luckett,
Yes.
John McKibben,
Yes.
Kathleen Mosher,
Yes.
James Poole,
Yes.
and Himanshu Karvi, yes. Thank you. We'll go to the next slide and go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. So next we have a TPDF amendment request for the City of Asheville for the Riverfront Destination Development Project to extend the completion deadline. This project was awarded a total of $7.1 million through grants in 2014, 15, and 17. $3.3 million has been dispersed to date. The contract calls for a completion date of December 2020. And most aspects of the project are complete and open to the public. As you can see, this young woman enjoying herself in the photo along the greenway here in front of the new wayfinding landmark. And the community is planning a series of grand opening events starting in April on Earth Day and extending through May to Wilma Dykeman's birthday. But the city, however, is still working on the north end of the rad tip improvements and also closing out general punch list items. So they are requesting an extension to the completion deadline and moving that to May 31st of this year. So I'll turn it back over to the chair again to consider the motion.
Thanks, Pat. Are there any questions on that? If not, then again, if somebody can read the motion, please.
I'll do it. This is Leah.
Go ahead.
Motion for consideration. Motion to approve the contract amendment to extend the required completion date of the City of Asheville's Riverfront Destination Development Project from December 31st, 2020 to May 31st, 2021 as requested.
Thank you, Leah. May I have a second, please?
Luckett for a second.
Thanks, John. All right, we'll go to the roll call vote. Vice Chair Gary Froba,
Yay.
Leah Ashburn,
Yes.
Andrew Selwyn,
Yes.
Brenda Durden,
Yes.
John Luckett,
Yes.
John McKibben,
Yes.
Kathleen Mosher,
Yes.
James Poole,
Yes.
Himanshu Karvi, yes. Thank you. And one more update.
Yep.
No, keep going, please.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. All right, next I'd like to present an update on the African American Heritage Trail project and to request to establish a project budget. So as a quick background, this project was presented to the TDA as part of the 2018 TPDF grant cycle by Ms. Catherine Mitchell and Veronica Gunter of the Riverfront Development Group. In lieu of awarding a grant, the TDA committed to fund the complete development, design, and installation of the trail, as well as provide staff support and resources throughout its development. Additionally, the physical trail would be adopted into the wayfinding signage program, ensuring it would be maintained on a continual and permanent basis after completion. And Explore Asheville would also create a digital version of the finished trail to be hosted on exploreasheville.com, which would provide a broader exposure for the trail and the heritage of Asheville's African-American community. So next, please. So a project development process was created that includes these 4 phases. An initial community engagement phase 1. The second phase is research and story development, followed by design, and finally fabrication and installation. So next we'll take a look at progress to date and the next steps. Here we have a timeline of the milestones so far, starting with the commitment to fund the project in late 2018, the creation of a phase 1 project team, and on through steps taken during the first community engagement phase. So we can take a closer look at the community engagement efforts on the next slide. So working with the project applicants, Catherine Mitchell and Veronica Gunter of Riverfront Development Group, as well as consultants from PGAV and a local community advocate, Kimberly Hunter, we created online surveys to solicit community input. We hosted a series of focus group calls and listening session workshops. Additionally, one of the PGAV consultants, Dina Bailey, gave a talk at the YMI called Telling the Whole Story, which Dina introduced the project and shared her experiences working on other related projects, such as the Center for Civil and Human Rights in Atlanta and the Underground Railroad Museum, among others. Also, Dina and Kimberly from the project team participated in a panel discussion, Black Lens on Tourism, at the African Americans in Western North Carolina and Appalachia Conference at UNCA. So let's move on to the next slide to see some pictures from the different workshops. 4 sessions were hosted in different parts of town at different times of the day to encourage maximum participation. These pictures are from the Friendship Center in Shiloh and the Stevens Lee Recreation Center. The input from the surveys, from the calls, and from the workshops was compiled into a phase 1 report, a copy of which was included in your board packet. And the report outlines potential interpretive themes, as well as lessons learned that we can take into consideration through all future phases of the project. Next, please. So that report can also be found on the project page on the AshevilleCVB.com website. Next. So the next and current phase is about research and story development, and it's about finding local partners that can help with that. Through a lot of outreach and meetings with various people and organizations in the community, such as UNCA, Department of Cultural Resources, Buncombe County Collections, we are ready to move forward with a researcher who comes highly recommended by Dr. Darren Waters. Research will be based on the trail outline from the original project proposal from Riverfront Development Group. And the intention is to develop story content and then host another round of community input sessions on that content. Moving on, that work will be followed by these last 2 phases of the project, which is the interpretive planning, the design, fabrication, and installation. So these phases afford many opportunities to further our community collaboration efforts. So community input will be sought throughout the development of the project. There will also be creation of an advisory committee made up of community members and leaders, a review of the marker content by academic and historians, which we've learned is best practice and what other historical trails do, such as the North Carolina State Marker Program. There's also opportunity for working with artists and kids in the community, such as creating artwork that can be incorporated into the trail markers. And we have an opportunity to contribute to our local archives. Throughout the process, community members may want to share items for the trail content, such as photos or story recordings. And those items should go to a permanent collection like Buncombe County Collections at Pack Library. And There are also opportunities for enhancing district identification and wayfinding. So we have started to build connections throughout the community and have laid a good foundation to move forward, which will help us work toward ensuring that this is a community-led project. And the next step now is to ask for a motion to establish a project budget for the African American Heritage Trail. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Himanshu.
Thank you, Pat, for that update. Do we have any questions for Pat? Or you can go back to the slide, please. Sorry.
Yeah, Pat, thank you for all the work that you've done on this. It's an impressive group that you've gathered together to get input and to get through the process this far. Do you have anything that you can give us in terms of what that $500,000 will be spent on? I mean, I just feel like I'm kind of signing a blank check here. I'd like some sort of detail.
Sure, absolutely. Well, baseline, it'll go to the design of the trail. That is mapping out the story content. We envision, a lot of this content, we will determine that we need to go out and solicit more content and stories. So that will fund that process as well. It'll fund all the community engagement workshops throughout that. And then of course, the design of the trail, locating the markers, and then fabrication and installation of that as well.
So is this money going to PGAV to conduct some of this, or kind of who's getting the money?
Yes, that is a great question. Thank you so much. So PGAV was contracted for phase 1 only, and our intention is to keep this project local and all investment local as possible, aside from possible subject matter vendors like the company that fabricates and installs our current wayfinding. We do want this project to be adopted into that system, so it will remain in warranty and then become part of the annual inspection and cleaning and repair process. But aside from that subject matter vendor, we intend that the rest of the funds will be invested locally.
Thanks, Pat, and thank you, Andrew, for those questions.
Manchu, I had a question.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
Hey, Pat, how will the next phase of community engagement kind of unfold? How will people know where to plug in? How will we be promoting this opportunity to plug in?
Thank you for that question. So I envision that we will probably contract with a local organization who manages these types of processes. But we will also do a lot of what we did for phase 1, which was, active outreach to local media. We created flyers that we distributed at neighborhood associations, recreation centers, churches, across the community, really. And then we also, another thing I didn't mention as part of phase 1, we worked with the local WRES radio station and purchased advertising to highlight the listening session workshops, and had an interview with Elder John Hayes. And that interview was replayed multiple times before those workshops. So we did, flyers around the community at different businesses in different parts of town. And so I envision that we would do much of the same for that as well.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks.
Are there any further questions for Pat regarding this African American Heritage Trail project? Okay, thank you. You can go to the next slide, please. Again, I would like someone to read the motion that's in front of us, please.
Yeah, Montreux, I'll read it for you. Motion for consideration. Motion to approve the budget ordinance as presented, allocating $500,000 from the Tourism Product Development Fund, appropriated fund balance to establish a budget for the African American Heritage Trail project.
Thank you, Gary. May I get a second, please?
Second motion.
Okay, did you get that, John? That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. If there's no further discussion, we'll go to the roll call vote again. Vice Chair Gary Froba,
Yay.
Leah Ashburn,
Yes.
Andrew Selwyn,
Yes.
Brenda Durden,
Yes.
John Luckett,
Yes.
John McKibben.
Yes.
Thank you, John. Kathleen Mosher,
Yes.
James Poole,
Yes.
and Himanshu Karwar is yes. Thank you. We'll go to the next. All right, next we'll go to Marla Tambellini and Ashley Kettle with the 360i to go over recovery and marketing messaging.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So yeah, Ashley and I are here to talk to you a little bit about some of the spring marketing efforts that are underway, along with some additional updates on the spring media and message efforts that we shared last month, and we're here to advance that story. If we go to the next slide, I wanted to point out that as we go through these slides, you'll start to see some alignment with the marketing efforts and the key strategic pillars that Vic mentioned earlier. And I'm going to start with the imperative to engage and invite more diverse audiences. On this next slide, you'll see one of our goals has been the past few years to add more diverse content in our own channels. But our content team is really ramping that up this year. We're working on expanding and updating the stories and images on Explore Asheville and through our social channels that allow people to see themselves experiencing Asheville. These are stories that will showcase Asheville's Black communities and highlight the rich culture and history, as well as the visitor connections to these experiences. We're engaging a diverse set of voices to help showcase Asheville as a destination by expanding the network of the writers that we work with, the storytellers, photographers, and new content creators. And the work's going to be ongoing. And we'll also eventually intersect some of this content and storytelling with the work that Pat's doing on the African American Heritage Trail, so that those rich stories will pull through on our website as well. So if we go to the next slide, an example of this is the sponsorship and partnership that we have with the Muni documentary that was recently produced. So at the beginning of the year, we had an opportunity to sponsor the airing of this locally produced documentary, which is about Black caddies turned players at the Asheville Municipal Golf Course, produced by local documentary producer Paul Bonesteel. And it's a story that's it's a story told through the voices of a collection of golfers who for decades were playing the Asheville Municipal Course, and not only played, but were witness to and had prominent roles in the huge changes from the days when Blacks were only allowed to play the course one day a week. And so the documentary has been featured on the Golf Channel 4 times this month as part of that celebration of Black History Month. And our paid support also provided us additional content and storytelling assets that we are using on exploreasheville.com and are running through our own social channels right now. And some of that content will continue to live on our website beyond the documentary airing. So if we go to the next slide, I wanted to share with you another opportunity we had a few months ago was to be a sponsor and engage as exhibitors at the newly organized Black Travel Alliance's Wavelength national networking event. So we were able to participate in 16 one-on-one appointments and intersect with 41 new media and Black content creators to make those connections for future use. And as a follow-up to that, we have had the opportunity to work with an outdoor and lifestyle influencer who recently traveled to the Asheville area and is going to work with us on some content as part of Plan for Solo Vacation Day, which is on March 1st. If we go to the next slide, you'll see that we've also incorporated a variety of new media outlets into our media platform for this spring. So we'll be working more directly to engage and invite Black Americans to the area as part of the digital campaign by adding these new outlets and websites to our media program. And the platforms that we've include Essence, which is an expansive web destination with nearly 7 million monthly unique visitors. And the content there is really focused on Black American women, and it's a daily source for their news, entertainment, and community. You may be familiar with, the Oprah magazine, but oprahmag.com is the more newish, expansive digital extension of that. And it's serving up content related to what's happening in culture, entertainment, beauty, style, life, health, and relationships. Vibe focuses on music and culture and entertainment, and Complex is an online. It's a little bit different than these other platforms. It's an online community of creators and curators, and they're working to set trends and reshape culture. And all of these have advertising and partnership opportunities that we can work through and will be part of that plan. If we go to the next slide, I wanted to talk a little bit about how we are going to incorporate safe and responsible travel into our message. We continue to make this a top strategic imperative as part of our marketing recovery. And so we are going to be, of course, we've said this for several months, encouraging safe travel as we move forward in spring. And that will factor into the creative message, as Ashley will share. But the long tail opportunity out of this extends from the standpoint of moving from the pillar of safety to moving into a space that's more about responsible travel and focusing on the alignment with the shared values of our community, as Vic indicated. So let's go to the next slide and you'll see how this starts to play out. We're going to start immediately speaking to the safety measure by using the landing page and continuing to focus on the safety message through our website. These are where there are the direct connections with consumers as they're planning their visits. You'll see that the safety pledge is prominent on the landing page with an opportunity to dive deeper into the website to learn more. And this also helps travelers understand the expectations we have in our community for adherence to social distancing and mask wearing and other health and safety guidelines that will keep all of us safe. So if we go to the next slide, you've heard me talk about Matador as a partner in previous presentations, and this is really a perfect alignment of interest. Matador will serve as a platform for sharing a message about responsible travel. And so its role will be to help ensure the integrity of our natural and sacred spaces in an approachable yet still enticing manner as we tell that story. So the series also involves additional activations you can see here through a partnership with REI. REI is a perfect brand that aligns with, our vision and values. And so we are excited about the opportunity we've been talking about it for a while, to finally unroll this out in a responsible way and share the content as we plan it this spring into not only our channels, Matador channels, but also REI's channel. And as long as we still are in a COVID safe environment, this will include an in-store activation in a market that we're able to agree upon, preferably a place like Atlanta, for example. If we dig a little bit deeper on the next slide, you'll see two new initiatives that we're adding to our portfolio of intentional building of value-based visitor partnerships. So this is Pledge for the Wild and Visit NC's Leave No Trace effort that is part of a national program. Both of these programs will become a cornerstone for umbrella efforts that will allow us to focus on being more intentional in our desire to be responsible, bring responsible consumers to the community, and then roll those out in a way where we share those expectations, whether it's based on principles that are foundational for Leave No Trace, such as, pick up your trash, very simple things that will be extended throughout the community, or whether it's the Pledge for the Wild endeavor, which has a component of give back. And so as we build out content and some marketing around the Pledge for the Wild, we will be able to, we've already indicated a beneficiary as the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation. And so there are texts too, and ultimately QR codes that can be used out in the local community as well through our marketing efforts that will enable consumers to provide a donation that will go directly back to the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation as our beneficiary partner. And those two and initiatives and efforts have just recently been set up. And so now we'll be working on scaling those marketing efforts in a way that will allow us to meet our objectives. If we go to the next slide, we'll continue to note that authenticity of this special place is an important component, and it manifests itself in the creative spirit and character of our community, which will also be conveyed in several paid media partnerships that I'm going to share with you. And as we walk through these, I want you to know that we're still working out the details, but several of these actually intersect not only with this pillar of Asheville's creative spirit, but also several pillars such as the diversity and responsible travel that I mentioned too. These are values that have been, excuse me, central to the work undertaken at these media outlets. So let's go to the first one. Places to Love is the popular PBS travel program that's hosted by trusted travel personality Samantha Brown. The program is known as an immersive series that focuses on the passion of people and soul of a place, which is in perfect alignment with highlighting Asheville's creative spirit. Excuse me, Brown has a significant following and a viewership of more than 3 million. And our program details include a 26-minute episode filmed in Asheville that will be filmed this spring and then aired in the winter, along with social activation that will occur in the spring while the crew is on the ground, and then we'll ramp back up again in early 2022 when the program airs. It also comes with a 30-second edited sizzle video that we'll be able to use in our media amplification, and then it will be incorporated into the email newsletter that goes out to the Samantha Brown Places to Love fans. On the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about AFAR. We recently had conversations with AFAR to discuss some opportunities to highlight Asheville's immersive experiences and creative character, but it also yielded some additional insight for us around the shared desires that AFAR has as a media publication for stories of diversity, along with travel that is, again, aligns with our desire to have more responsible travel in a way that protects the integrity of places while still providing sustainability for our community. So again, we see this crossover opportunity of these strategic pillars. This program includes a custom travel guide highlighting what to know before traveling, best times to visit, which allows us to look at different times of year that may not put as much stress on the destination, what to expect from the food and culture scenes, and the must-sees and travel tips. We'll also include some day-by-day itineraries to encourage longer overnight stays based on different passion points. And then there'll be amplification of these efforts through the daily Wander newsletter and the email blast, Wanderlust email blast, and then promotion through AFAR's social channels and on their website. And the last partnership that I want to talk about is Travel and Leisure and Food and Wine. So Travel and Leisure has long been a great editorial partner for us, and in the past, an occasional print media paid partner. You might recall that TNL placed Asheville on its list of best places to travel in 2020. Of course, that was prior to the pandemic. But this content partnership furthers the relationship by leveraging the strategic custom content in the editorial voices of both Travel and Leisure and its sister publication, Food and Wine, both very highly respected publications in their space. So we'll work with them on stories and local people that make Asheville a special and creative place. And the details of this program includes articles in both publications, a co-branded email blast, and additional social amplification as well. So at this point, we'll move to the next slide where I'll turn it over to Ashley to share more specifics about all of our media partners and also address the carefully phased approach we've put in place for re-entry into the market with our advertising. Ashley?
Thanks, Marla, and hello, everyone. As Marla said, I'll be expanding on more details regarding our media partners that are part of the upcoming spring-summer campaign, and also share updates on messaging to support recovery. As you saw, Marla shared some of our partnerships, including the content partners and those that will help us invite and engage diverse audiences. Here, you'll see additional partners that are part of our plan to support spring-summer visitation and our strategic imperatives. We've included highly recognizable partners like Hulu, YouTube, Facebook and Instagram and Google, and travel partners like TripAdvisor and Sojourn. The overall plan includes a combination of tried and true partners that have proven effective in the past, as well as new tactics and partners like email with the partner eTarget, and AdTheorent, a display partner who will help us deliver highly customized messages to our audiences based on their online behaviors. We're looking at taking a phased approach to launching the plan, with digital starting mid-March and another layer of connected TV and video assets starting in the first part of April. It's also important to note that we have selected media partners that allow for flexibility and moving start dates based on what we're seeing with COVID cases and vaccine rollout. We're really excited about the broad mix of partners that will help us reach our audience where they are in their planning journey. Whether they are dreaming of a trip for the future, planning one soon, or ready to hit the road, we'll reach them in the right place and at the right time with this plan. On the next slide, in addition to our media plans, we've also been working together with the Explore Asheville team to develop new messaging that takes into consideration our audience's mindset and how we can speak to them in a meaningful and relevant way. In the next few slides, we'll share what we set out for the work to accomplish, the strategy that serves as the foundation for the work, and then some of the details about how the campaign will come to life. On the next one, you'll see there are 4 strategic imperatives the new campaign work will support. We'll differentiate from other destinations through a campaign that feels ownable to Asheville. We'll do this by bringing to life Asheville's creative spirit through the tone of the campaign that leans into Asheville's authentic personality, through the points of interest featured through the campaign as a whole, and the overall look and feel of the campaign that will nod to our maker culture. We'll also encourage and invite diverse audiences, not only through our media partnerships and the initiatives Marla shared, but also by featuring a diverse array of people across the campaign that we're crafting from existing assets. And importantly, we'll encourage safe and responsible travel, including a strong nod to the safety pledge and a shared responsibility to keep our community safe between visitors and residents. On the next one, you'll see every good campaign is built on a strong insight or human truth. And I'm sure we're all feeling this one. We've been living life on a loop, and this has made us miss life's little surprises. 2020 felt like Groundhog's Day, with life on repeat, at times even unaware of the day of the week. And we know that those who are willing and able to travel are looking for an experience that mixes it up a bit. 78% of those ready to travel say they are ready because they want to feel joy and happiness. They want to escape to a place that will provide unscripted moments that break the monotony of the past. On the next one, from this insight, we developed the campaign positioning, which outlines how Asheville can appeal to our audience by meeting them where they are in a relevant and differentiated way. We want the campaign to communicate that Asheville is a place that breaks the monotony with its undeniable, unexpected vibes you can't help but delightfully indulge in. This campaign will invite travelers to rediscover joy, the kind of unscripted joy that lasts in hearts and minds. In Asheville, those unscripted moments can be expected and can't be found anywhere else. On the next slide, this campaign will build intrigue for Asheville as a delightfully inexplicable place full of unscripted experiences. From the beauty of the mountains to the grandeur of the Biltmore and the creative spirit of the makers, musicians, and artists, Asheville is a remarkable place, and its magic can be hard to put words on. To really understand it, you kind of have to be here. And that's the crux of the idea. On the next one, as part of the campaign, we're building multiple videos featuring various points of interest. And here's one example script featuring forest bathing. We'll open on text that reads forest bathing. You'll hear the voiceover read, so imagine you're taking a bath, only you're fully clothed and there's no water. Instead, you're bathing in the energy of the trees. I mean, have you ever exfoliated your soul? Asheville, you kind of have to be here. Again, this is one example of many ways the campaign will come to life. We'll also have a graphic treatment specific to the campaign that will amp up the ownability and pay off Asheville's natural beauty, as well as the inclusion of the safety message. On the next slide, Additionally, we'll partner with local Asheville residents to be the voiceover in our spots. Who better to speak to this magical place, this place where you kind of have to be here to truly understand, than the residents of Asheville. And on next one, lastly, in addition to forest bathing as one example, we'll feature a variety of points of interest, stretching across the outdoors, restaurants and arts, and attractions like Biltmore, with the mountains playing a central role across all video, digital, and social elements, as well as on exploreasheville.com. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Marla to close us out on the marketing section.
Thanks, Ashley. So I'm bringing this slide back again, purposefully. As Vic indicated, the data coming in on travel sentiment continues to be positive, with record highs reached this week on a number of fronts. And as you can see, despite the understanding of pent-up demand for travel, people are still of differing minds as to when they plan to embark on a trip. That is why it's so important for us to have that flexibility to be able to go into the marketplace or out, depending on where the trends take us. Nearly 85% of American travelers, though, have at least tentative trip plans right now, whether that's in the near future or closer to the end of the year. And the majority of Americans believe they will be vaccinated from COVID-19 by this summer, which you can see is reflected in the timing of these trip plans. Not only that, as more Americans have already been vaccinated and know others who have, you're starting to see these trips pop up in the short term as well. As you can see on this chart, the proportion with trips planned for April and May have inched up just a little bit over the last month, including plans for Easter and spring break. And well over half of American travelers expect to take some type of leisure trip within the next 3 months. So as that dreaming and planning get underway, it's an important reminder of the need to be in the market, you know, at the very beginning of that future trip planning and meeting those travelers where they're at, particularly as the expectation of more widespread vaccination will correlate with trip planning for summer and beyond. So I just wanted to leave you with this note on the last slide of our presentation. If you move to the next slide, thanks, Daniel. So the focus of this rapidly improving sentiment around travel is, of course, in part due to safety and accessibility, but there are also just real increasing signs of true enthusiasm and excitement to return to travel. Hence the pent-up demand. So when asked to use just one word to describe how they feel about travel right now, it was excited. That's the word that Americans are largely citing. This feeling has become even more predominant since the start of the year, and it's really in stark contrast to those earlier periods of the pandemic when the words that were popping up were fear and caution. So as always, we'll continue to monitor the weekly data waves that come in from both Destination Analyst and Longwoods throughout this phased rollout, very carefully cautious phased rollout of our advertising efforts that will start in mid-March. And just that reminder again that we have the flexibility to move in and out of the market as the trends and science dictates. But the trend line is definitely a positive sign towards a path to a safe and responsible recovery that will ultimately help us put people back to work in our community. And so we thank you and we take any questions.
Hey, Marla, it's Kathleen. I don't have a question, but I just want to say I'm really impressed by the strategic and kind of lightning focus of this plan. I think it is really clear that every dollar that we're going to be investing is going to be working very hard because you've thought through very specifically who is that audience and how would they be motivated to travel specifically to Asheville. So I just wanted to make a general comment there that the strategic nature and the targeted nature of the plan is very impressive.
Well, thank you, Kathleen.
I have a question real quick, maybe both Marla and Ashley. When in one of the last slides, Ashley, you talked about the messaging of safety being, you know, and Marla, you mentioned our pledge being on our website. How is that being communicated in the media or in the ads that we put out? I know it's on our website, but how's that pledge being?
Marla, do you want me to take that one?
Please.
We are going to be making sure that safety is an important message throughout all of our communications. We'll be treating it slightly differently. So in social ads, we'll be, referencing it visually and in copy. In our videos, it will be a call to action at the end that's graphically treated, but it will be a central message to make sure that we're communicating, that we're bringing people here that share our values and want to make sure that they have responsibility in keeping the community and the visitor safe. So it will be treated slightly differently across different channels, but it will definitely be present throughout.
Yeah, and that will be similar throughout the content partnerships as well. There's plenty of opportunity to weave that message through not only the advertorial content that you'll see in magazines, but anything that is running this year will definitely have that. And there'll be an opportunity to help shape it through the social amplification that the media partners will be utilizing as well.
Mike, I have a question for Marla. Marla, Garden and Gun has a pretty good reach in this area. Was any consideration given to partnership with them as well?
So we did recently, Vic and I both recently met with Garden and Gun, and Garden and Gun has been part of our previous plans. They have provided us with a proposal as we go into the next fiscal year, which is the second half of the calendar year. So that was just recently shared with the agency and is being reviewed at this moment. And so there's a good likelihood that you'll see that pop up in the plan that we roll out for the upcoming fiscal year.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Marla and Ashley, for that update. If we don't have any more questions, we'll go on to Diana about group recovery. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good morning. I'm presenting this morning on behalf of the group sales team. Our very talented group communication and services manager, Carly Adams, was expected to co-present with me today, but was confirmed for jury duty this morning, so I'll be doing it solo. Next slide, please. We're very privileged to be an essential part of the recovery and to help our community rebound and thrive again. Meeting and events are an integral part of the equation and support many small businesses who provide services directly or indirectly to our inbound visiting groups. Throughout this pandemic, our core responsibilities have not changed, and that has been to make Asheville the destination of choice among meeting planners and group event planners, resulting in economic benefits for this community. We're as engaged with our clients today as we have always been, but the mechanics of how we've sustained that engagement have changed, and the messaging has changed to reflect the needs of today, which are reinforcing safe meetings and advocating for responsible travel. Next slide. Nationally, new bookings remain at low levels. The January 20th North Star Pulse survey findings reveal respondents believe live events are expected to return in Q3 and Q4, 56%. And approximately 14% of planners, the largest percentage increase since the last study was held, believe live events will return in 2022 or later. Now, these recovery projections are largely dependent on vaccine rollout and vaccine efficacy. We're going to continue to see these metrics move positively or negatively depending on the confidence people have to gather safely. Next slide. Two meeting style models being widely used today are the virtual meeting, which of course is what we're doing, and the hybrid model being a combination of a virtual experience as well as a live presentation. While there is a place for them moving forward, neither is expected to totally replace person-to-person events. The confidence in virtual events is waning as people are just getting tired of virtual. And hybrid meetings can be very costly to organizers to implement. Both are going to be players in the post-COVID environment, but not the main drivers. Person-to-person connectivity cannot be replaced. Next slide.
As we've noted before, Asheville remains well-positioned as the recovery continues to unfold. Our location, our size of our city, the types of accommodations we have, wide open spaces. Add to that the projected size of future meeting, which lands in our sweet spots. Daniel, thank you. Now let's move on to what we're experiencing here at the Explore Asheville CVB. Next slide, please. Leads and definite bookings, as you can see on the dashboards, are down. The dashboards bear this out. Of the leads being generated, the top current market segments for us right now include weddings and sports. These two segments have commanded a disproportionately higher percentage of the market mix than what we've experienced pre-COVID. Next slide. You're going to see three stats in front of you, starting on the left with leads. Again, keeping in mind, total leads are down significantly from prior years. But of the total number of leads we have sent, approximately 42% of the leads sent in COVID are either wedding or sports, whereas typically those leads would only account for approximately 30% of the leads. Moving to the middle, 55% of the total definite bookings fiscal year to date are weddings and sports, whereas they would typically make up approximately 46% of your total bookings. And on the far right, 47% of the total rooms booked year to date are weddings and sports, whereas last year they accounted for about 33% for the full fiscal year. Next slide, please. We've had some significant events even during COVID, like the Camping World Maui and the upcoming Southern Conference men's and women's basketball championships, though they've been modified greatly. The visitor impact of Maui alone approached 1.6 million in total business to the community. Hosting hotels were able to bring people back to work, earning an income. Hosting these events has required strong partnerships between a variety of organizations, including Convention and Visitors Bureau, Asheville Buncombe Regional Sports Commission, Buncombe County Health, Buncombe County, Harris Cherokee Center, City of Asheville, to make sure that the events that happened safely. Now, adding to these wins is that other sporting events are just beginning to return. At the Asheville Buncombe Regional Sports Commission meeting last week, Asheville Buncombe Youth Soccer League reported 2 of their soccer tournaments, the first since the pandemic started, actually happened the weekend before with safety protocols in place. Next, I'm going to share some specifics about how the team has fostered this client engagement and simultaneously delivered content most important to the planners. We have a good news story to tell. Next slide. As our team has continued to keep Asheville top of mind for meeting and event planners, our marketing efforts and tools have had a new focus. Safety is priority number 1. We've created virtual tours to book future business safely when the time is right. And we've worked hard to make each virtual resource and outreach authentic and personal, while providing as much value to our local planners and meeting planner clients as possible. Next slide, please. Our largest effort and initiative this year has been the Asheville Virtual Experience, a 45-minute program that was produced in-house by our team and debuted January 28th and informed meeting planners about Asheville. Prioritizing the viewer's personal experience, the program began with a guided breath exercise and wrapped up with a desk stretch led by Miranda Peterson, a local provider, with Namaste in Nature. Next slide, Daniel. Explore Asheville staff presented segments on accessibility, group activities, meeting hotels, the planning support offered by Explore Asheville, and details of the Asheville's Meet Safe Pledge. Community safety protocols were outlined by the Asheville Independent Restaurant Association, Asheville Regional Airport, and Asheville Attractions Collaborative. And the program opened with a welcome from Asheville locals. Next slide, Daniel, and start the.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Asheville.
Welcome to Asheville.
Welcome to Asheville.
Welcome to Asheville. Welcome to Asheville.
Welcome to Asheville.
Hey, welcome to Asheville.
Welcome to Asheville.
Welcome to Asheville.
Welcome to Asheville.
It definitely makes you smile. We were thrilled to have 463 people register for the program. That was amazing. More than 50% of those people tuned in, each of them giving us 45 minutes of their time. And everyone who registered provided information on future meeting plans. Next slide. To date, this effort has generated 6 leads for future meetings, which have been distributed area hotels. In the post-event survey, 71 people, or about 30% of those who attended, stated they plan to host a meeting in Asheville over the next 4 years. And the recording has received 141 views on YouTube so far. Next slide. In October, we launched the Mug Moments monthly mini webinar series, where I host live 20-minute conversations about safety protocols at a variety of meeting hotels. Our next one coming up is next week, featuring Holiday Inn Biltmore West with Robert Sponder. Next, please. The Mug Moments episode recordings receive continued exposure online. And this page has gotten over 1,000 unique page views since promotion of the series began in September. Next slide. Now, we recently combined all of our virtual planning tools to create a Meet Safely in Asheville landing page. The page talks destination facts about Asheville's Meet Safe pledge, top attributes for planning a safe meeting in the short term, and an update on Asheville Regional Airport safety efforts. It also includes our new safe meeting case studies and the collection of virtual planning resources like the 3D tours of the meeting properties. Next slide, please. While most meetings were postponed or canceled, more recently, there have been some meetings that have taken place safely and responsibly. And we've worked with planners to document and create case studies that offer fellow planners some insight and advice on safety and the importance of communications with their attendees. Here you're seeing one example of the 3 case studies that we've published to date. Next slide, Daniel. We launched the Closer to Home Self-Directed FAM Familiarization Program, January 22nd. This is a program designed for planners to visit individually when the time is right this spring. Our team has confirmed approximately 10 planner visits to date. Next slide. These resources are proving to be helpful for our community, offering tools for them to share with their networks, which they have. Next slide, Daniel. For example, talking about sharing, the 3D virtual tours created last July have continued to help partners book future business safely. Almost 2,000 unique visitors have been on this site since it was first launched. Next slide. What you've seen represents a big portion of our body of work since we last presented in September. I'm open for any questions, and we hope that you've enjoyed this update.
Diana, at Grove Park Inn, we're experiencing over the last few weeks tremendous lead volume growth, not just for 21, but also into 22. Are you experiencing that?
we are definitely seeing an increase, although I looked at just what was went tentative last week, and surprising to me, a number of those groups are for the current year, which is still surprising. But yes, we're definitely have seen an uptick. And I think a lot of it is with the vaccine rollout and people's confidence level, you're definitely seeing more interest in planning and booking meetings for the future.
Yeah, we definitely need group business. There's no question.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes, I would just say that we're seeing those as Diana's chart showed from meetings north, is that it's towards the back half of 2021, but we are seeing it for this year, and then also into 2022, which is heartening. The other thing I just wanted to mention while my mic is on, innovating with the virtual FAM. For those that are in the direct sales world, you know, you're hoping to go to a trade show and you might have 6-minute appointments with a client. And you might see 50 to 100 on a good trade show or conference. And to be able to get 247 clients in 45 minutes of their uninterrupted attention on Asheville is really significant. So I just wanted to thank the team for their collective efforts on making that happen.
Thank you, Vic. We appreciate that. And I'm sorry Carly here wasn't here to present because a large body of this work, she helped in a significant way to make it happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Diana, for the update. Any questions? Any more questions for Diana?
Diana, it's Brenda Durden. Many thanks for all the great work that you and Marla and your teams do. You guys are amazing. I am just curious if you're hearing any interest in smaller meeting facilities. You know, we have a few of those, and just curious if what are you hearing?
Well, if you look at the research and you can see one of the slides that I presented, they're moving into the recovery. They do anticipate smaller groups, which for us, those smaller groups definitely open doors for all of our properties. But you're definitely seeing a little bit more in the 200 and less in those sweet spots, which I think is ideal for Asheville.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
But we keep every lead as open as we can because we want everyone to have, you know, compete fairly. And
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that you do. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Brenda.
Okay.
If there's no further questions, we'll keep moving on to our next item on the agenda, which is an update from City Council member Sandra Kilgore, which I'm sure there's not much going on in the city.
No, it's not much. Yes, first of all, I'd like to say how wonderful the presentations were this morning. They were so informative, and the resources and all the work that went into preparing them just blew me away. So I'd like to really commend everyone for a great job that they did. And as far as Asheville and what's going on, first of all, I'd like to say that I spoke last month about the hotel overlay that we were actually looking into approving. And we actually did vote last night to approve the hotel overlay and the point system, the incentive-based point system. We also approved and the resolution to update the UDO to reflect those changes. We also did the, I think it was the confirmation of the school board process of electing the school board officials. And we approved the questions that we would be asking the people that we actually have selected, and we ended up narrowing it down to 7, 3 of the existing board members and 4 others. That was also approved by council. Council also approved a resolution to actually promote our legislative agenda for the council. They have not done this in a few years. And basically what that does, it basically sort of set our agenda for things that we would like our local delegations to work on as far as getting those approvals here. I mean, getting them on the bills for Asheville. A list of those legislative agenda items were the restoration of state maintenance assistant program. And that basically is a program that basically has been a resource for funding and growing our transit system. The other one is the authority to conduct a referendum on a 1/4 a quarter-cent sales tax for transit. And the other one was the authority to establish a civilian oversight board for the police department. Another of the referendums that we had on our agenda was to reform the local occupancy tax utilization and also distribution. An authority also was the authority for electronic meetings, basically to get some type of guidance of how that will look to us in the future, and if we'll be able to utilize it as part of our regular resource. Another one was a clarification on council's actions following public hearings, whereas now the way we do our hearings, we cannot vote on an item on the same day that we have the public hearings, and we're asking that that be changed where we actually can vote on them at the same meeting. And I think that's probably about it, except for Deborah Campbell, the city manager, basically laid out a plan. And this is a plan actually for as how we'll proceed with the reparations that's on the agenda that people are really inquiring about what's going on. And she laid out a plan basically that sort of sets up how the process is going to go and the process of actually appointing people to the commission and basically what their duties will be and how we'll proceed after that. The entire process is going to take, I think it's 2023 is before we actually have it implemented, but it gives us time to work through a lot of the items or things that we need to pretty much work on. This is not an easy task, as many may know. This is something that basically that has been worked on for years. So it is taking us a little time, but we are moving forward to actually have a plan, a workable plan that we can actually get behind. And thank you very much. And that's about it.
Mr. Kilgore, if that 1/4 tax referendum were to pass, about approximately how much revenue would that generate for transportation?
Unfortunately, I must say, Hamasha, I'd have to get back with you on that, and I do not really have that available.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Gary, I think I heard a number about $10 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. But I think we might have to get confirmation on that, but that's what I heard.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Kilgore. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to Commissioner Robert Presley. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. I want to echo great presentation today, but good news here. We're getting ready to celebrate the 100th year of the SoCo tournament coming to the Harris Center. So looking forward to that March 5th. And hoping that we get a good update today from the governor on how we'll be able to do all that. Commissioners have talked about it over the past week, and we will finish that up next week in our regular meeting, 1st of March. So that's good news coming here.
Thank you, Commissioner Presley. Any questions for Commissioner Presley? All right, if not, we'll go on to the next slide, please. Any miscellaneous business from the board? If not, we'll go on to the next slide, please. This is our, public comments. As you can see, members of the public were invited to submit comments via email to reply@expoasheville.com through 4 p.m. on Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021. We did receive 2 comments by that deadline, and they were emailed to the board. Next, please. Again, for the live public comments, some members of the public were invited to sign up to verbally share live comments during today's virtual BC TDA meeting. As of 12 p.m. deadline on Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021, there were no requests to speak. We did not receive any requests to speak. And I know we just adopted the guidelines this morning, but we were ready to take them today. All right. Go to the next slide, please.
Confirm the
yes, go ahead, Andrew.
10 million number that you gave out. That's the same number that Senator Julie Mayfield gave out as coming from the quarter-cent sales tax. So it'd be about 10 million a year.
Okay, thank you. All right, look at that, 1031. And I want to really comment. Both council member and commissioner mentioned this. The TDA, we've been in a hold pattern for a long time, and today felt like a good and exciting meeting when we were talking about a media plan and doing it responsibly and safely, still going on in the market. And this is what the board is supposed to be doing, and I'm glad we're back to talking about that and how we're doing it. And again, the amount of data, amount of information that's presented via Zoom and keeping us all engaged. I really appreciate that, and thank you very much to the staff for taking a lot of time and energy into getting these presentations. And part of the reason why our meeting's ending early also is because of the depth of information that's provided. Our questions are limited because they've answered most of our questions as they're going through the presentations. So thank you very much to staff, to Vic, for putting this together. And I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Andrew. We'll go to our roll call vote for adjournment. Vice Chair Gary Froba.
Yay.
Leah Ashburn.
Yes.
Thank you. Andrew Selman.
Yes.
Brenda Durden.
Yes.
John Luckett.
Yes.
John McKibben.
Yes.
Kathleen Mosher.
Yes.
James Poole.
Yes.
Himanshu Kurver, yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Himanshu.
And that's our information for our next meeting, our annual planning retreat and the board meeting. So, all right. Thank you, everyone.
Good meeting.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.